celebrate Ray's rebirth, you could say. So it's great to have all of you here, friends from Murgon Church, friends from Kingaroy Church, everyone here to support. You know, it's a really special moment whenever a baptism happens, because as it says in Luke chapter 15, verse 7, it tells us that in the same way there'll be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who do not need to repent. Amen. So as well as all of us here rejoicing today of the decision that Ray's made, we also know that up there in heaven, the angels and God are rejoicing because Ray's chosen to choose Jesus and follow him with his life. So today I just want to especially acknowledge Carol, who's come to represent the family, and also Mel. You are wanting to be mentioned as well, just for your support and help with Ray's beautiful baptism attire today. So beautiful, Ray, you're looking really fantastic, but it's going to get wet. We're going to see how it goes in just a moment. Today, everybody, as you probably know, baptism is a special moment, and that's because of what baptism actually represents. It represents two things, basically. It represents, as we find in Romans chapter 6, participation in the work of Jesus Christ. When we go underneath the water, we're saying we're participating in Christ's death, and when we're raised from the water to new life, we're also pointing forward to the day where we'll be resurrected with Jesus, and I'm sure you're looking forward to that day as well. Am I right? That's right. As well as participating in the death and resurrection of Jesus, we also know that when you're dunked below the waves or the waters or the half-warmed water that Ken's made for us there, we know that you are dying to your own self and your own desires, and when you're raised out of the water, you're choosing to live for Jesus now, to follow in his footsteps and to follow his ways and plan for your life. So today's a very specific moment for you as you celebrate your decision and as we all celebrate that with you. But I've asked Ray just to give us a few words this morning. Now, everyone who knows Ray knows that he can talk whatever phrase you want to use. He can talk a bit. I've given him 3 to 5 minutes. So if he goes over, it's okay. As long as it's not raining, we're fine. But I've asked him just to show just a little bit of an insight into his life thus far and how it is that he's been brought to this decision where he's choosing to give his life to Jesus in the symbolic terms of the baptism this morning. So he's only got about half a book of notes, so we should be good. Well, I'll hand you over the microphone, Ray, and there you go. Thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, because I took the hearing aids out. Okay, well, as Pastor Leathan said, he's asked me to give
microphone.
He's asked me to give a brief history of why I'm being baptised. So this is my journey. I'm going to start from when I'm very young and go through some elements of life. And because of the time frame he's given me, yes, he said quite correctly, I can talk. I could probably keep it here for a couple of hours if I wanted to get to the whole story. But anyhow, this is my journey. We're going to start from my younger days when I was around about 8 years old, and I was with my older brother Ron. Ron was 10 years old, and we attended a church on Sundays at the church in Bankstown in Sydney. On our way to church this day, we had our younger brother Robert with us. He was 4 years old at the time. And on our way to church, we passed a playground with swings, seesaws, slippery decks and more. After short play, we continued onto the church, despite Rob wanting to stay and play a little longer. On arrival at the church, we led Robert to the hall out the back of the church where the under-fires went for their activities of the day. The hall entry was around the back of the building, and Ron and I watched Robert go around the corner of the hall, and Ron and I proceeded into the church. After the service, we went to get Ron and return home to our parents, because we regularly went to my mum's parents for the afternoon for lunch and activities of the afternoon. But it was 2 hours after I even in shock. The teacher said that Robert was not there today. And my brother Ron said he's gone to the park, the place he didn't want to leave. Okay. So we rushed back to the park, but there was no Robert. In those days, we didn't have mobile phones or phones anywhere nearby, so we rushed home. And when we arrived home, we notified our parents of what we knew at this stage. They brought the police into it and had him reported as a missing child. Several hours later, the police found Rob walking towards our grandparents, which was around about 10 plus kilometres. That's the word, right? It's about 10 plus kilometre walk. He managed to achieve about 4 kilometres in several hours that he was still missing. Okay.
Now, something that happened in the day was when we got home and Rob was found, our parents decided that we were to attend church no longer because of the concerns about one child wandering off. But what I did was I did try to read the Bible on many occasions, found it very difficult to do on my own. I asked people around me, but I never got any clear answers, only more confusion. So what I did was I spent the next 40 years looking at different types of religions, trying to find where I should be. Some of those things we looked at as spiritualism, reincarnation, life after death, Buddhism, Mormons, the Baha'i faith, and many more. In February of 1966, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here, my father was a member of the RAF, for those that don't know, that's the Australian Air Force. And through his work, he was commissioned to work overseas for the next 2 years. We were sent to North Italy, and we lived on the border of Italy and Switzerland. So everyone's been giving me a hard time about the waters today. Well, guess we're only for 2 years in the Swiss Alps. Snow, ice, freezing cold. So I hope you're ready for this. Okay. Okay. Yeah, in the interim, we had another member coming to our family named Dennis. Of course, Dennis, we set off the name Dennis the Menace, which was appropriate many times. Whilst we were in Italy, we had the opportunity, our parents took us on a tour around Italy, and we attended the museums, castles, churches, and saw paintings, various statues, and also a lot of religious artefacts. We were also fortunate enough to view the original painting of the Last Supper, and that sort of struck a chord with me as well. And that's stuck with me like a memory you wouldn't believe. Okay, we returned to Australia in March of 1968. Yes, one page more. Okay. In 1976, jumping forward again, I met my wife Judith. Jude and I, we were living in Sydney at the time. She was living with some friends. I was still living at home. And when we married, we moved to the Hangle-Strathfield area. How we actually met was at the Senior Postal Clerk Training Academy. Through that, we got married, and it was only the second year that women had been entered into the Australia Post training. So we set the example. We were the first couple to marry from the Australia Post Academy. Trailblazers we are. Okay. When I was at Padstow Post Office, after I completed my training, I was a senior postal clerk at Padstow. And we used to really get the Australian Red Cross to come and do their banking there. And of course, they informed me that the mobile blood bank was coming around and asked me if I'd be interested in becoming a blood donor. And me thinking, well, I'd like to help people, why not? I'm strong, I'm healthy, I can help some people out here. Unfortunately, I had to retire after my 75th donation, which they presented a certificate to me with. I had a heart condition. And I thought it was because I had the heart condition, they wouldn't take my blood. And they said, it's not that, it's that having donated blood and having had a heart condition, that could actually give you a heart attack. So I had to stop donating. But to continue on my role with the Red Cross, I signed up with their first aid course. And the irony of the first aid course was there were two instructors. One was an ambulance officer, or paramedic as they call them nowadays, and the other was a nun. You know, I thought it was quite amusing myself because I thought, well, the paramedics trying to save lives and the nuns at the end of life. So I thought, well, who said God hasn't got a sense of humour? Later on from that, we married in 76, but in 77, 13 months after our wedding, my father passed away from a heart condition. You know, while we were at the funeral service, up until that time, I was sort of the stalwart of the family, keeping everyone together. I was very close to that. I left the church because I was feeling like I am now. But when I was outside the church, I suddenly had an overwhelming experience that I can't put into words. The closest I can get to it is that I was suddenly at peace. And there was a feeling I just couldn't explain. With a sense of love, and I get to know you guys. All you do. A little bit further forward, though, in 1983, our son and Brendan was born. And I had the great pleasure of delivering my son. The doctor stood aside and said, "Now, Ray, go for it." I was an ambulance officer at the time. I'd been trained in delivering babies, but he was my number one. Okay. So this is part of my story, if you will. The next one we had was our daughter 2 years later. And I was lucky enough to be in attendance, but the doctor wasn't. So the nurses did the delivery and I stood aside. When the doctor arrived and read the notes, he said, "Why didn't you step in and take over?" I said, "No, the girls were doing a great job. I was just happy to be there to support my wife." Okay. Now, I'll turn the page a little late. Here we go. I had to write it down because I could have gone a lot longer, trust me. Okay. 1 second. I need 3 years. Okay. Well, after we had Amanda, before we had Amanda, I'd moved to Tamworth. I transferred to Tamworth with the ambulance service. My wife stayed in Sydney for a few more months because she was coming up to her 10-year service, so she could get her long service leave. So she very wisely took her long service leave, and then maternity leave, and then resigned, and made the benefit of it all. When we were living in our house in Tamworth, that Judy ended up working for the tax office, and they had a residence, and we rented that residence. And I love collecting junk mail. I always enjoyed reading junk mail. But in this particular day, there was a pamphlet from a local SDA church inviting me to attend 2 days to study the book of Revelations, the last book of the Bible. And I said to my wife, Judy, I said, "I'm going to go and have a look at this because I've been searching for things all my life." And I went to this. And to my surprise, when I got there on the first of those 2 days, they informed me it was actually the beginning of 24 dates, 24 weeks. Oops. But I attended all of them. There's some lovely people in it. I met one young couple. I got to know them very well. He was a prison officer at the local prison. She was a dutiful housewife with a French background, and she made terrific profiteroles. So she was very popular at the meals at the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the other irony too was at high school, their 2 children were actually friends of my 2 children. So that was an interesting meeting as well. I wonder who organised that. Okay. So this wasn't my first experience with the Seventh-day Adventist, though, because some years earlier, my naughty little Robert that did the runaway hooked himself up with a girl called Jennifer. My friend Carol is here this day as a friend of mine, also has been a long-time friend of Jenny's. Unfortunately, Jenny couldn't make it today. She'd come down with a rather nasty, croaky voice. I'm sure if she was here, she probably would have sung a song, and I was going to critique her on it. So I missed out on that one. But for those that don't know this visitor, her name is Bond, Carol Bond. Gotcha. I could use it, Jenny. Okay. Yeah. We are the comments. Yeah, we're on our last page. Okay, as things always do, our children, Brendan and Amanda, grew up and moved on with their lives. Brendan attended university in Lismore, New South Wales, studying business management. He's now working as a manager at the Coolum High School in Queensland. He has 3 children, my grandchildren, at 15, 13 and 10. And that was the reason I moved up here from Tamworth. Amanda, she attended Sydney Conservatorium to study opera, then moved to Brisbane Conservatorium to further her operatic studies, then back to Sydney to complete her musical degree. So that was 9 years of university. No wonder I'm broke. Okay, she also was awarded a certificate at this presentations, and they informed us that in her studies that she was a remarkable woman, and her results put her in the top 3% of Australia in all topics. Now, in furthering that, a few days ago, as we know, the COVID destroyed a lot of the musical industries for those couple of years. Amanda moved to Melbourne, and she's actually performed in 4 performances this year in Melbourne in opera performances. But she got an invitation from Berlin in Germany to be the lead female singer in an opera in Germany. So she's been doing everything to raise the funds to get over there. And it was going to be a difficult time. It was going to be a very tight financial time. She was going to originally go for 4 weeks, but at the last minute, after many, many prayers, the Barker Society of New South Wales came on and helped finance part of her career. So her 4 weeks now has turned into 6 weeks, of which she's very grateful of, because she has been to Germany quite a few times, and she's got a lot of friends over there, so she'll be able to spend a bit more time with it as well. Plus, she should be catching up with vocal coaches and other people within the operatic industry. This performance that she's going to be performing over there will actually put her on the world stage as one of the top performers up and coming in the world. And she was born in country music capital Tamworth. How do you figure that? Opera, country music. Okay, so as I said earlier, before moving to Murgon, I spent some months in Gleninus with Jenny and Carol. I went with them to the local church there, got to know the folks there. They're all brothers and sisters in my life now. I felt so welcome that I had to join the church in Murgon. It was a driving force. I was compelled, and I certainly not regretted one instance. I've had a wonderful time, met wonderful people. Pastor Ethan has been fantastic with me, leading me through my lead up to this day. I made this commitment. I'm here, and that is my journey. Thank you.
All right.
I think you get a really awesome sense that there's been multiple points in your life journey, Ray, where God sort of just showed up and said, "Hey, here I am." And so it's great to see you at this stage as well. And I also get the sense you're immensely proud of your family as well, and how God just seems to have his hand over each and every one of their situations. So right now we're going to put him in the water. We're going to have a baptism, and Ray's going to be raised to new life. But before we get into the water, Ray, I'm not trying to prolong getting in as long as possible, but I'm going to ask you 3 questions just to make sure you're absolutely fine with going in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God sent to this world?
Absolutely.
And do you believe that he died on the cross in place for your sins?
Absolutely.
And is it your desire right now to be united with him through the waters of baptism?
Absolutely.
Well, that's a yes and a yes and a yes. So I think without further ado, we'll get into the water and we'll baptise you.
Well, let's get some spells.
You first.
I got an email.
It's not too bad, actually. Come on in. I want to get these folks. That's all right.
It's not too bad. So now, Ray, because of your choice to want to commit your life to Jesus and be united with him in baptism, it's my privilege now as a minister of the gospel to baptize you into this water and to raise you to new life. So you're going to grab onto that hand, and I'll make sure I put you out. I won't leave you there, okay? Righto, hold on. Ready? Set, go.
Amen.
You asked for part of the family. Off you go. If there's anyone else today that's been inspired by Ray's journey and how he's given his life to Christ, you're most welcome to, I won't say come and join with me now, but you're most welcome to talk to me and begin that process of baptism. But I encourage you, don't let anything stop you engaging with a life with Christ. I'll get out of the way.